Hey, Stephanie here, sharing my top 5 lessons from the field of behavioral finance. Too many people, in my opinion, feel overwhelmed and super anxious about money decisions. And yet there's good reason for that. We live in an environment that's not terribly conducive to good money decisions, but also there is scientific proof that our brains are wired to be bad at money. Did you know that 2 Nobel Prizes in economics were awarded to psychologists because they bring insights from the field of psychology about how human beings make decisions under conditions of uncertainty, which is pretty much all financial decisions. What the behavioral finance people came along to say was, hey, you economists who always believe that human beings act perfectly rationally around money, you know what we've discovered in our observation of the human species? Human beings don't act perfectly rationally about anything. Why would they do that around their money? The traditional economics, which by the way was the only class I fell asleep in undergrad, it was all about rational decisions and, logically weighing the pros and cons of everything. And there was no room for emotion. Well, that's kind of crazy. Of course, there is emotion involved in financial decisions. And to me, the whole field is summed up perfectly by this book title by Dan Ariely, Predictably Irrational. Not only are we humans irrational about money, we're actually irrational in predictable ways. So I want to share some of those with you today. The first lesson is that the things we buy actually have 3 levels of value. The first level is utilitarian. So my favorite red pumps, do they protect my feet from rocks and stones as I'm walking across the driveway? Yes, they do, unless maybe I break my ankle along the way. But that's the utilitarian value. The second level of value is the emotional value. How do I feel when I wear those red pumps? I actually don't wear heels anymore, but in the old days, I felt quite like a badass, let me tell you. They made me feel awesome and more confident than without them. And then the third level of value is the expressive level, which is, what do I think these red pumps say about me to you? What am I trying to express to the world by these red pumps? So what do we do with this lesson of behavioral finance? To me, it's about bringing intentionality and mindfulness to the things that are driving our financial decisions. If there's something you're thinking about buying, do a check-in. Is this only a utilitarian decision? Is this an emotional decision? And that's not a bad thing. You just want to be aware of it. All these things are needs. When you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the need to feel accepted by our peers, to fit in, to have emotional security, all of those things are needs. You just want to be aware of what's driving your decision. Lesson number 2, human beings have a tendency to believe that we can predict things that are actually unpredictable. So let's imagine I'm flipping a coin and I'm going to flip it 7 times. And the first 6 times I actually get 6 heads in a row. Most people believe that the 7th flip is more likely to be tails because of those 6 head flips in a row. However, every single time you flip a coin, the outcome is completely independent of the flips that came before it. There's always a 50-50 chance. There's no greater likelihood of tails, even if you had 100 heads flips before that. However, the human brain wants to see patterns and wants to believe that we can predict things. This is why casinos stay in business. But what it means for investors is that we believe we can predict investment markets. I'm going to show you this one chart. I promise no other big financial charts. But what this shows is that the green bar is the Standard & Poor's 500 index. U.S. large cap stocks over a 20-year period averaged annually 7.5% return. The return bounced around, but the annual average was 7.5%. Not bad. However, you can see the orange box, actual real investors averaged 2.9% return. Why is that? It's something we call the behavior gap. The difference between the return the investment got and the return the investor got is human beings' bad behavior. It's thinking that we know what's going to happen. It's getting nervous when markets go down. It's getting excited and having a little bit of FOMO when markets go up, which leads us to buy high and sell low, which is the opposite of classic investing advice. So thinking we can predict, right? Check in with yourself about that. Lesson number 3. We all know that a dollar is a dollar is a dollar, and a dollar you pull from anywhere will buy the same stuff. However, that's not how our brain works. We tend to put different value on dollars depending on how we think about them and the story we tell ourselves. So for example, there was a study done by a college using a bunch of undergrads, and they gave a whole bunch of students $25. Half of the students, they said, this is a refund on your tuition money. And the other half of the students, they said, this is a bonus for participating in the study. And then they followed what the students actually did with the money. 80% of the students who were told it was a bonus for participating spent it, most all of it. Whereas only 20% of the people who were told it was a refund spent the money. Same $25, different perception. So what do we do with this? To me, let's use this to our advantage. Let's think about our savings, our investing for different purposes. If I have an account that's labeled tuition, I'm less likely to use it for maybe a splurge weekend away. Or if I have an account labeled a vacation, I might be less likely to use it when I have to pay the plumber. I'm liable to try to find some savings elsewhere to pay the plumber because I don't want to deprive myself of that vacation. So having different pots of money with different purposes. Lesson number 4, willpower. Willpower is a limited resource. So there was a study where they brought 2 groups of people into 2 different rooms. Now, room number 1 had lovely fresh baked chocolate chip cookies and some beautiful crisp red radishes. The first group of people, they said, please help yourself to whatever you'd like. And then they were asked to do this brain teaser puzzle. What the researchers didn't tell the participants is that the puzzle was unsolvable. What they wanted to know was how long people tried. So they timed the people who were able to eat cookies. How long did they try to solve this puzzle? The second group of people they brought in, and the same cookies were there, same radishes were there. They said, please help yourself to as many radishes as you would like. And then they were asked to do the same puzzle. Because the second group of people actually used up some of their willpower resisting the cookies, they gave up in less than half the time solving the puzzle. So what's the lesson here? If you've had a rough day, if you're tired or hungry, if you're feeling grumpy because your kids are annoying you, your willpower is likely to be low. So maybe if you're trying to make a big financial decision or trying to resist splurging on something, that might not be a good time to do it. So check in with yourself on your willpower. Lesson number 5 is about time. There is fascinating discoveries in brain science thanks to the functional MRI machines, the ones where they hook people's brains up to all the little electrodes, and they can actually take a picture and see what parts of your brain light up when you're thinking about different things. So what they discovered is that when you're thinking about a reward in the present moment, like a piece of chocolate cake, versus a reward in the future, like perhaps losing 5 pounds or 25 pounds after COVID, if you're me, there's actually 2 different parts of your brain thinking about those 2 different things. And guess which one is stronger? Present moment brain is stronger. What do we do with that information? It means, as I heard a behavioral finance expert say, long-term planning is an unnatural act for humans. So let's give ourselves a little bit of grace on that. But one of the tricks is to somehow put the future on an equal playing field with the present. Do your best to kind of visualize your future self. Make friends with your future self. Check in with him or her and say, hey, what can I do today to make your life easier? Some people use a vision board, right? Some people use some kind of memento or reminder of the goals that they're saving for. Something to try to get those 2 on even par. The big news is you don't have to have all the answers. You need to know the questions to ask and have the guts to ask them. So these are the questions to ask yourself. Do that self-check-in because of what we learned from the field of behavioral finance. And remember, baby steps, progress, not perfection. Starting to bring your mindfulness to your money behaviors is really the key. Thanks so much for listening, and I wish you all the best.